friend. You're listening to The Sustainable Body Worker, the podcast for massage therapists who want to grow thriving, purpose-led businesses without the burnout. Here we talk about nervous system aligned business strategy, pricing that makes sense, client work that doesn't deplete you, and how to build a career that actually supports your life. I'm your host, Gretchen Pop, massage therapist, mentor, educator, and recovering overachiever. Let's get into it. Hey friends, welcome back to the Sustainable Body Worker. Today's episode is such a treat. I got to sit down with Ezralea Robbins, who brings a wealth of experience working with large teams in our profession and now coaches others with the kind of real talk advice that so many of us need to succeed. Our conversation went in some really beautiful directions. We talked about what it really takes to grow a team, not just the logistics, but the mindset shifts that have to happen. We touched on navigating life's challenges while still building a business and what it truly means to fill your own cup so that you can lead from a sustainable place. My favorite part of this conversation was digging into what true self-care really means, not just taking time off or physical self-care activities, but taking a detailed look at your life, what you're holding, what you can set down, and how those choices allow you to actually serve from a much more effective and aligned place. I think you'll get a lot out of this conversation, so let's dive in. Alrighty. Ezralea, I am so happy to have you here. I've been wanting to talk with you for so long and bring your wisdom on the topic of just growing a business that feels good. You're someone that so many people in the sphere of bodywork have worked with and have amazing things to say about what you do. So thank you for coming on. And I would love to give you an opportunity to, for those who don't know who you are, what you do, to share a little bit about who you are and what you do for the bodywork world.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me again, Gretchen. It's always a pleasure to learn and play and find other colleagues across the nation. Hi, I'm Ezralea Robbins. I live in Salt Lake City, Utah, and currently own Spa Ninjas. I'm a co-founder, and we develop white belt to black belt education for massage therapists and spa professionals. It is my passion and my colleague, Kate Bell, who is the other co-founder of Spa Ninjas, to create a legacy encyclopedia of information that can help people have career track growth within the career of wellness and healing arts, and really bringing healing arts back into massage therapy, because we see something getting lost. There's greatness to having all kinds of education, but there's also wisdom that's passed down hand to hand, mentors and stuff like that. And so that's been our experience through time and as body workers and working alongside some of the best in the world, we feel like, and getting to meet our clients' needs and help them in some of the most tender and intimate situations, and hold that space for them professionally with loving care. And so that's what we bring to the field. I've been a massage therapist for 30 years. I've just grown up in this field. So I don't know, I've done it all from injury rehabilitation with fibromyalgia to, in my early days, private practice, group practices. Over the last 20 years, I've owned, run multiple resort and local micro spas, or mini spas, I like to call them. And it's just operations and systems have been a little powerhouse I've nailed into to make operations really easy for me. And that way I can teach and learn. And now I'm fully adjusted onto coaching and business mentoring. And so I do the primary business mentoring for Spa Ninjas, and Kate Bell is our education developer and curriculum writer. And together we just bring, I don't know, we just create this web of flow that creates this bank of knowledge that we have fun teaching and educating and learning, and just dialing into the conversation of how to start and what happens when things go weird, you know. And we're happy to share. And I love sharing my experience.
Yeah, that's one thing I really appreciate about just witnessing what you do bring to the table, what you have brought to the table in the Facebook groups and all of that. You both of you are willing to share and I love the creativity that you both bring to the massage world. Even just in your branding, the spa ninjas with the white belt to black belt, you really do have a really great fun spin on something that a lot of us I think find daunting, when it comes to the systems and stepping into leadership and learning the things that we're not necessarily always equipped with through massage school. And I appreciate that about what you guys bring to the table. And when you and I first connected, it was in order to discuss growing a team. And I interviewed you for my first time employer's guide. And through my connection with you, I discovered that you have so much experience working with large teams. And like you already kind of described, you've seen so many different sides of the industry. And I'm curious, if you looked back, what would you say most massage therapists don't necessarily realize about what it takes to build something truly sustainable?
Oh, wow. One of the great things that I teach in corporate teams is the bridge between an employer and an employee. And it's been a really so we've also run legislation for massage therapy in our state to help really update the laws and how we can work with them. And so apprenticeships being some of our passions and one of the things that I've found that I think is really well misunderstood is what it really takes to open a building and the $250,000 that is invested into that before you walk into the door for your job. And it can't be seen until it's spent, and in the worry that everyone else comes before yourself as the person that is leading, you know, everyone's paycheck, everyone's rent. And there were times where I was like, I feel like I have 30 bosses
Your employees?
and they think I'm the boss. And I'm like,
Yep.
this isn't fun. This isn't fun anymore when it felt like that. So I always had to tweak and adjust and interweave systems that people can understand. Hey, when you come in here, I'm not interested in babysitting adults. Not interested. And that is the thing that I wish therapists could understand and learn to respect. And at the same time, there's a lot of investors with money that have bought into the wellness industry now through franchising and that model. And it's a very great model. And when someone only looks at the dollars and not the humanness of labor capital, that's where the influx of needing to teach both sides, the bridge that these are the way a human can capably play in a sandbox professionally, because I can't do 8 massages a day, 7 massages a day. I'm not even interested, you
Yeah.
know? And so I think people have to just understand their own human capacity, being the employer and being the person on the team.
Yeah, well, I mean, that bridge is so important because there is such a divide. And I have been joking, but actually serious about my most recent experience after running my clinic for 11 years, employing for probably 7 or 8 of that. And now, after moving out of the state and kind of starting fresh, I'm an employee. And my employer, she's a friend of mine, she's like, didn't you like, you're not going to start your own practice? You're not going to start a big clinic again? And no, no, because, I love I love having
Mhm.
the opportunity to see both sides because it is a very different experience sometimes. And in my previous experience being the employer, I worked really, really hard to create that bridge and to foster the culture that really does support massage therapists. And I came from the franchise world. That was part of what motivated me to do something differently because I was a manager and I saw kind of, the dark side and how replaceable massage therapists seem to be in that particular location. Not saying an umbrella statement necessarily, but
Yeah.
in that location, we were fairly replaceable. And being a part of that system really motivated me to do something different. But it's easier said than done. I'm curious when you talk about building that bridge, what would you say is like the first stepping stone or like the first shift you ask either side to take a step toward?
Well, usually when we're teaching that, I teach a class called Life on Purpose. And it's one of the classes that when someone is working with me and I'm mentoring with them, it's you need to go through because everyone comes to me for mentoring and they're sharing their dream and their problems that have expanded 10 years in the past and 10 years in the future. And sometimes we have to just look at what is your human capacity now?
Yeah.
What do you really like to do and what do you have to hold? Because you may want to grow this big, elaborate environment, and then at the same time, you want to travel to Croatia and Mexico and do retreats. And at the same time, you're raising a family and you want to have children too. And so you might be having this big vision that needs stepping stones to get it into play and just understand your human capacity. That sometimes when we have these big dreams and these big visions, it's kind of like throwing spaghetti at the wall, the blue, we call it the blue sky. If I could have the blue sky dream. And then you have to break it down into actionable steps. And a lot of times, those actionable steps can take anywhere from 2 years to 10 years, depending on what kind of visionary or dreamer you have to be. And then we have to account for the times that life just likes to come and life us. And that's the pieces that we forget when we're building these big dreams is like, oh yeah, I guess I'm married. I'm supposed to go on a date every once in a while. I do kind of like the dude. Sometimes when I actually spend time with him, right? Or kids need different things and moms have moms have a mom's first base, for kids and stuff. So you have to know where your priorities and your demands are. And I think that goes on every human being's side. And so right off the bat, whenever I'm stepping into a corporation or working with business owners, I'm taking them into life on purpose because I'm like, can you just tell me where you hold all your tasks, time, talent, and dollars, and where it aligns in your energy? And
Yeah.
then we can talk about what you need to delegate, what's yours to hold, and what you're ready to let go of. And it just, instead of me telling you what to do, you go, oh, okay, decision well made. I can see that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that bird's eye view is so important, and we get so caught up in the big vision sometimes. And I know everybody's brain is so different, regarding whether they're good at thinking about the big picture or if they can deconstruct the tiny steps in order to get there. And really having that structured approach and really looking at what your life actually is and what you actually want to build around gives you that first uh, actionable step a lot easier. And I think that there's at least one thing that I've noticed a lot from my own experience and connecting with other body workers that sometimes the quest for achieving whatever dream we have can, especially when we don't necessarily have a model to follow or a specific structure to go by, it can be a little overwhelming. It can feel daunting. It can feel exhausting. And like the goalpost just kind of keeps on extending farther and farther because we don't have the structure and the vision, like the process, like what you spoke about with life on purpose. And I think that this really lends to a lot of burnout that people are experiencing because we were caught in this divide of this beautiful vision that a lot of us have and not necessarily knowing how to get there. And so we burn the candle at both ends and we compromise family and we compromise other goals and hobbies and relationships in order to get there. And so I'd love to talk to you about your thought about burnout and not just physical, but like that emotional and the mental burnout. What patterns do you see most often in body workers trying to grow their business?
Well, this tags on the burnout, tags on with that same scope of what you mentioned of the franchise world being replaceable, right?
Yeah.
And that's what feels really like, ugh, it stinks, and that feels really, it's burning my candle out, right? But I would also say what I see in most people across the board, my family, myself, you, everyone I come into contact with is we all want to be seen and heard for who we are,
Yeah.
plain and simple.
That's the brass tacks right there.
Yeah. And going out onto our own often because we're burnt out from someplace, it's usually a reactionary step of, I haven't been seen and heard. I got words for y'all, you know.
Yeah.
I'm going to go out on my own so I can be seen and heard with my own voice and at least not be reputationed with you because you don't see and hear me. You're not representing me. And then people like yourself and myself and your friend that you're working for, we go create our own brands and our own labels so that we can do our own thing, our own secret sauce and kind of represent our own self into the world to be seen and heard. And at the end of the day, I think burnout comes from is that we crave that from ourselves
Mm.
and we're looking for it in everyone else.
Oh,
And and then we get burnt out and we're holding too much. And
oh,
at the end of the day, when you really sit down into wellness, it's all about connecting with the self, seeing and hearing and listening to your own oneness.
oh, such an important piece. It's that encompasses, I think, any struggle we encounter in life in general. It's
Mhm.
not just growing a business. It's not just being happy in an employment situation or being happy in a relationship or being a good parent or any situation that we find ourselves in, it comes down to how are we taking care of ourselves first? How are we meeting that need for ourselves first? And the burnout coming from a place of trying to seek that elsewhere is such a important piece that I have never heard anyone articulate in the way that you just did.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Why do you think no one is addressing that? No one else is addressing that in that way.
I think there's this great thing about telecommunications. So I'm totally Gen X. I've watched it all come into the world and played with it and some of it. I didn't do MySpace, but I did Facebook at, I don't know, 12, 13, 14, I don't know how long ago. And it's been interesting to watch communications bridge.
Hmm.
And for myself, I know so I've raised kids and I've raised elders is what I like to say, you know. And one of the things of that is you get to kind of stand and watch and hear people's stories, and that's part of even being a therapist, right?
Yeah.
Is you witness people and stuff. And I think when you can kind of walk in other people's shoes is the best way to put it, or listen to other people's stories you can come to understand them. And communication online is hard. I had to learn really fast. Texting is it's hard. It's not the way to go to bridge a communication and say, I'm really frustrated with you, because it usually comes across as, hey, you suck.
Yeah.
And then you're back here. That's not what I meant to say. My words didn't come out right. And so text and audible communication and all these different bridges we've had to learn over the last really 10, 15 years how to bridge really fast, because before then we were writing letters. I have a stack of letters from when I was in my early 20s and 30s back and forth to my friends and my, stuff. Of course, we had emails and stuff like that, but friendship was done differently, I think.
Yeah.
And now it's just changed and it's just bridged, and there's a beauty to it because you can witness people, but you have to stand back sometimes because sometimes people's reaction are very cultural. Sometimes it's very trauma. Sometimes it's very neurospicy on one end or the other of the spectrum. And then sometimes they're just human at that moment in their lower level shadow depth of a human. I don't know. And I think when I teach SOPs, I often say you have to build that sandcastle. You're
Hmm.
building your sandcastle, you're mapping it out, and when people come inside, you have to teach them how to play and build a sandcastle with you, and where they can add an extension and kind of, but you have to be the foreman. And if people start throwing sand, you have to give them the warning and then kick them out of the building if they keep being mean. And I kind of do relationships like that, you know. It's like we're building life, and if we can't congruently connect and align and have colleague connection, then we're not doing this right, and we need to adjust.
Yeah. Well, and I think that shines a light on something that I think is really important about any profession, any team culture, that not everyone plays by the same rules or should be playing in your sandbox. And I think one thing that I experienced early on as an employer, and I've witnessed other people going through this, is feeling like people should fit into, like, as long as I have the right SOPs or as long as I have the right structure or rules, like anyone should be able to fit into or play in this sandbox, so to speak. And that's not necessarily the case, and it's okay. And the
Mhm.
process of figuring out who your people are and how you play and the rules that you like to play by is a process that develops a really incredible culture when you do it without expectation.
Yeah. I mean, you have to really seek employees the same way you would a client. And that's just through brand management and knowing what client you're serving and what employee you can serve. When we teach corporations how to manage, owners are there to be of service to the management, and management is there to be of service to the staff, and the staff is there to be of service to the client. And so that way you can stop the micromanaging going down, and it helps people align with who am I here for? And most therapists walk in the building and it's like, I don't care how you run this beast. I just want a full client list, to have a lunch, to eat, and to use the restroom and everything between clients, have operationally work and function as a human in a healthy environment. Most people, that's what they want, is I want to walk in the building, take care of my people, help them connect to themselves, and then do a minimal amount of chores that are expected of me and leave. Let you take care of the rest, you know? And
Yeah.
so it's really everything comes down to just knowing the expectations, asking all the right questions, negotiating for yourself, and really believing in yourself too, and being your own cheerleader.
Yeah, we could all use a lot more of that.
Yeah.
Now, circling back to burnout, I'm curious, how do you personally recognize the early signs of burnout in yourself? Have you experienced that before? And if so, what shifts have helped you step back or kind of recalibrate before it goes too far?
Well, burnout, yes, I've experienced before. How I recalibrate it, I probably started recalibrating myself truly in like 2017, somewhere in there, because I was just kind of, no, I take that back. Maybe it was like 2015. I have to go off of my daughter's age because that's how I can tell. I'm a crazy woman, and somewhere and along the line, I got to enter into a program. I got to enter into Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses. It's a scholarship program. I'm a School of Hard Knocks girl. I went to trade school, and so this was my first hard bolted college education for real. And I had three locations at the time. And my business advisor told me, you don't know what you've done, have you? And I didn't. I had no idea. But going through that, I got out because I built this big grandiose dream. Of course, another location year round. I thought I wanted this was my next step, and it was. And I did do that for a long time. And it wasn't healthy for me. And I have some pandemic blessings for cutting those weeds out, because I was just really burning it at all ends. But I took this class. I went through some pretty heavy mentoring, through a couple of years, in some pretty expensive mentoring with some of the best in the world. And a lot of it brought me down to programs that what do you have the human capacity to hold, and what do you need to delegate to grow your business? A CEO or owner or founder needs to work on the business as much, if not more, than in the business sometimes. And that tends to be the job. And the nuts and bolts need to be delegated out, because you put me in accounting and I'm going to fail you.
Yep.
I'm not a bookkeeper. I will not pay my taxes on time, and the payroll will not come through properly, or I'll be panicking. It will come through on time. But it'll be panicking. So I had to learn how to delegate and get rid of so much of that along the way of being a business owner. And that was through, programs that were much like Life on Purpose. But what I've done is I've taken probably five of my favorite programs that helped me the most, and I've made them into Life on Purpose and Business on Purpose. And it's really meant to be done about once a year at the least, and probably twice a year is pretty good, but to just kind of manage how life is prioritizing for you, because there are certain things we have to hold. And there was one time in my life, my grandmother was living with us. She was 89. I had a 10-year-old, a brand new baby. I was going to Goldman Sachs, and I had this great idea. I should open a store year
Yeah.
round. And the leaseholder said yes to me when I was going through it. I was like 7 months pregnant, but I'd been running resorts for 13 years. So it wasn't new to me. Operations wasn't new to me. Um, and so, yeah, I was kind of like, let's do this. And everyone around me, my support team's going, yes, but I'm a Sagittarius. I kind of thought I'd sleep when I'm dead. You know, it caught up with me. It really caught up with me. And I had to kind of reprioritize everything, and just start taking things off of my list. And the more that I got a breath, the more it was, and I was forced to get that breath. We took my grandmother through hospice, and she passed away. I was still running my business, and there's something about when you begin to lose your matriarchs, you have to rebuild your foundations in such a different way. And there's some things and some griefs you just like, I don't have it anymore. And then there's the crossover of 40. Be warned, women. There is the crossover. The button breaks, your give a shit button breaks. And you just need to become, I hate the word selfish because I think some people abuse and become selfish. And it's
Hmm.
like, that sucks and it doesn't feel very good. I think you have to really claim self-wellness and kind of filling yourself self-fullness and just kind of filling your own cup first and learning what that needs to be. When I was holding my grandmother's hand as she was passing away, I would have never let that hardship go. That's mine to hold. I can't delegate that out. I can't release it. I have to hold it. Also, the dirty diapers, also the kids, and also this. So you really kind of get to, okay, but what's filling me up? And when I first did this, I didn't have much filling me up. And my coaches are like, let's try a 20-minute walk.
Mm.
How about we try 8 hours of sleep? Like, let's get back to the basics. How about we schedule lunch
Yeah.
and breakfast? And so there are certain things I just really had to kind of, oh yeah. And I'm also kind of ADHD too. I like to build things and do a lot of things. And so if I let it go too undone, it gets too undone. And so I've learned to kind of compartmentalize in three choices, three steps, three things, tend to work for me. And then I do life on purpose myself about once a year. I really should do it twice a year, but and I reprioritize my time to see what do I have to hold, what do I want to hold, and what am I ready to kind of readjust and let go of. Because we go into some dreams, and this is maybe a maturity thing, but we go into some dreams and then they are babies, and then they're toddlers, and then they're young adults, and then they're bratty ass teenagers, and then they are okay. This is just a full-fledged being of its own that's running and has its own name and its own brand and its own operations that's completely separate from me as a human. And you have to learn also when a dream expires
Mm.
as much as when it's coming to life and when it's time to pass on. Because I've held some too long, and that's a hard one too. Oh no, I just want to keep
Yeah.
when it's just time to say, you know what, this is a well-lived dream. This is well-loved, well-lived, and now it's someone else's. Or it's time to close the chapter. And so I think it's really, you have to look at life constructively, and I don't know why it hasn't been taught or why but you have to look at it and say, what do I need life to look at? What do I hold? How do I like to hold it? Obviously, if I'm doing bookkeeping and accounting, that stuff, it's going to take me forever. It's going to be a lot. It's going to suck. My bookkeeper that loves numbers and does it for a living, she's like, yeah, I got it done in an hour.
Yep.
That is so worth. Here you go, darling. Here's your payment right away. Yes, I'm on subscription. Thank you. Get it
Yep.
done. And I just don't have to even worry about that. So there's those things that have always made me successful in business is like I know I will fail my whole environment if I'm doing the bookkeeping and accounting. So let me find my best support team. When it comes to me as a human, my husband is a chef, a professional chef by trade previously, and then a spa tradesman. He managed the spas with me too. But he finally was like, I'm going to make sure you eat. I'm going to make sure you eat, at least have something to eat. And I have a lot of friends that I don't know, I love to cook. I'm good at cooking, but once I get hungry, it's free for all. And I've had some friends that they've done good on, okay, I had someone subscription groceries or whatever. You find your plan that works for you, but you have to find your plan. And we all have our own little tricky stuff, I mean, for me, for a long time, it was sleeping. I'm an insomniac. I just have always been an insomniac. And then there is something about after kids go to bed, you're so tired, you could fall asleep, but man, and all of a sudden you get that second wind because it's like, oh, the house is quiet. I
Yep.
can spend an hour by myself, and then that hour becomes 2 or 3 or a scroll or. And so you have to kind of find your discipline and your nature and your habits and stuff. And Life on Purpose has a follow-up of Business on Purpose for my business owners, where we scheduled out how the nature and seasonality of life and business flow together. Because it really does, even if you have a job, just the nature and the seasonality. Your birthday comes up at the same time every year. So does Christmas, so does Easter, so do all of these things, all of your parents' birthdays, all of your best friends, all of these things come up. And so a lot of times it's just getting it on the calendar and then putting some reminders ahead of time that say, hey, or putting in a subscription that automatically sends that card or flowers or whatever, because I don't know. I have a couple of things I'm weird with. I'm like, I hate the post office. It's a childhood trauma thing. My mom worked at the post office, I think. I don't know. I hate the post office. And so I have to set up some things that are subscription or someone else is doing it for me, when it comes to mailing stuff out. So thankfully I have a helpful partner and husband, but I definitely have to set up systems for the things that I don't like to do.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I love all my friends, I love all my clients, and I will think about you on the day of your birthday. But I don't like sending a text. I want it to be more.
Yeah.
So I have to kind of back end myself. That's how I fix my loads in life and what I'm carrying and what I'm holding, because it ebbs and flows with life. I have seasons that I'm super busy and my body loves that. And then I have seasons that I just like to, nope, I want to go on vacation. I want to put my feet in the sand and my butt on a beach and turn my computer off. And I know those seasons of myself. And so I think most of us do if we look back historically
Yeah.
and then just plan towards the future.
Hey friend, real quick, I'm interrupting this episode to share something that's made a huge difference in my health and my ability to actually rest, which is kind of the foundation for everything we talk about here. Now, you've heard my story, and you probably know that I used to be a chronic insomniac. Like, my eyes were super tired, brain totally wired, body aching all the time, just laying there for hours wide awake, even though I was completely exhausted. And even when I did fall asleep, I'd wake up with that classic cortisol spike at 3 a.m. and couldn't fall back to sleep again. I honestly just thought that was how my body worked. But everything changed when I started using Swanwick blue light blocking glasses. I was in a program that emphasized 3 pillars of health, and sleep was one of those non-negotiables. And once I understood what blue light was doing to my nervous system and circadian rhythm, it made so much sense. So here's the science real quick. Blue light, especially from screens and overhead lighting, suppresses melatonin production. And it doesn't take much. Even small amounts of exposure after sunset can delay the release of melatonin by hours, making it so much harder to fall asleep and stay asleep. But that's just the beginning. That same disruption also affects your cortisol rhythm, your ability to regulate inflammation, your blood sugar, your digestion, and even your tissue repair. Now, you're a body worker, so you know sleep is when the real healing happens for you and your clients. So now I wear my Swanwick glasses every night starting at around 5 p.m., especially if I'm leading a Zoom call or working late, and the difference is wild. I fall asleep within 30 minutes of starting to read in bed, I sleep so much deeper, and I wake up with a lot less pain. And most importantly, I feel like me again. And just to take it a step further, I even swapped my bathroom light bulbs to their amber-toned bulbs so that my evening routine doesn't confuse my body into thinking it's midday. This is one of the easiest, most effective upgrades I've made to my nervous system regulation and overall healing. It's super low effort, high reward. Honestly, it kind of feels like cheating. So if you're someone who struggles with winding down, or you find yourself wired at night even though you're bone tired, give these a try. There's a link in the show notes to grab your own pair. Okay, back to the episode.
Yeah, I think what it seems to all boil down to is really getting to know yourself, getting to know your needs, getting to know where you don't necessarily always step up for yourself. I love that you mentioned that your husband cooks for you and helps you make sure that you're fed. I am exactly the same way. I call David, my husband, my food husband because I'll be working on the computer from the moment I wake up sometimes until the afternoon. He'll just walk in and put a plate of food in front of me. And sometimes, like, I will forget to eat, and he knows that about me because I work, work, work. And, I mean, that's a little codependent, but I think that there's like a huge benefit to, again, zooming out and looking at the reality of, okay, I need more sleep. Sleep is something that I really need, or I need to remember to eat lunch, or I really want to make sure that my friends and loved ones feel loved, but I have X, Y, and Z block around that or remembering it. So, kind of parenting ourselves in the sense of like, well, let's get this scheduled in so that I don't have to think about it. And I feel like so many people struggle with the process of giving ourselves permission to acknowledge these parts of ourselves because there's this perceived standard of how we should be. And we should just be able to keep it all together. There's so many business owners in their private practice who they wear the bookkeeping hat, they wear the laundromat hat, they wear all of the hats because sometimes that's just where we have to start out and build as we go. And it can be really challenging to give ourselves permission to let go. It's not always a control thing, sometimes it's a control thing, but allowing ourselves to even acknowledge, like, that's not my strong suit, I'm not good at that. And acknowledging that maybe that $300 a month that I would love to keep for myself actually is going to allow me to earn an additional $600 a month because I have let this
Mhm.
go. I have more energy to receive. I have more energy to give to my clients and provide amazing services. I've got more brain space. And, but that's such a difficult concept for so many people to get behind and be able to take that step.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think when you hit the wall, and I'll be vulnerable and honest and very authentic because this is the why and the guts behind my passion is that we've lost people to suicide in our family. And we lost my husband's mom during pandemic, and we lost a cousin before that, and and it's I've had other family members that I've sat with that were at that bridge, and I'm where do we stop? Where do we learn how to care and feed for ourselves? And I grew up in a place where I didn't have the support, the knowledge, the education of even how to do anything, in life. You have basic schooling, but I, the my parentals were not parental. And so I didn't learn a baseline of skills, and I had to go out and find these things. And through that comes its own kind of survival and burnout and stuff of just learning life. And when I finally hit my wall in what I needed to do with my life and pandemic and losing my mother-in-law and stuff. For me, it was kind of like it's get up and teach what you love. Get up and teach what's been helping and saving you for the last couple of years. Because at the end of the day, I was I have this little journal. It's the feeding and care of Ez. And I think everyone should write one, the feeding and care of me. What time do I like to sleep and wake up? What do I need to eat in the morning, whether I like to eat or not? You know, I used to pull that whole card. I hate to eat before 8. Can't eat till 1. And then I'm ravished in the afternoon. And I really had to reteach my body that balance. and stuff, because what is the care and feeding of me? What I could do when I was 20 is not the same thing when I'm 40, 45, and now 50 and stuff. It's like you have to pivot and adjust and dance with life. And so that life is about recreating yourself. And I think just like we teach our clients, the minute you stop moving, your joints are going to get rusty. The minute you stop moving, your life is going to get kind of rusty. So you have to pivot it and dance and keep moving with life and kind of shower off the rust a little bit and keep new growth going and that creative drive going. And that is really what we all want, is our own creative drive to create whatever it is we got to create in the world, and just enjoy that at the end of the day, and be seen for who we are by the people around us and in our community. And so the more that you learn the self-care and feeding of you and just the basics, like what does your matter need? And then what does your spirit need? You know, and then what does and part of that matter and spirit then goes, what does my community and my people need? You know, I've tried to be an isolated island before during some of my angrier days, and it doesn't work, you know. And I think community and collaboration work best. And when it comes to depression and it comes to suicide, we all need to lean in. And when you hear someone else's story, it's like, oh, yeah, I'll hold your hand, but we all need to lean into ourselves and to lean into each other and just kind of, hey, you're human, it's okay. You get to make mistakes, and let's talk it out if we're having a frustration, and let's try to walk with kindness, but maybe it's okay to be like, look, I often tell people, I can be a lesson and a blessing, and I'll often be both in your life. So, and that's that embracing my humanness. And I think we just have to embrace our humanness, embrace that we have this, I gotta eat, I gotta shower, I gotta brush my teeth, I gotta sleep, you know. You mean I can't just work here on this computer? And there is something about the computer, man. It can drive you in, and I can be. I've always wanted to work from home and work on my computer. After 2 years, or probably a couple of months solid doing that, I'm like, oh, okay, never mind. I need a whole new habit. Give me a body stat. I
Yeah.
need to work on people, get me off this thing. And I need to create good digital habits too. So it's just pivoting, adjusting.
There's
Creativity is always moving.
Yeah, and there's so much self-compassion in what you've explained and what it seems like you've come to learn about yourself and what you need. And I love that, you know, you could be a lesson or a blessing. I love that because you have always been this kind of coach that not just like gives amazing advice and supportive, and like you have a warmth about you. You have like a tremendous heart space that comes through very clearly even on Zoom, but you also tell the truth and you don't sugarcoat. And I'm I'm curious what a hard truth about this profession that you think we all need to hear more often.
A hard truth is we need to own our truths. Most people, the suffering we're feeling is we're just sugarcoating over our own wounding.
Mm,
You know, we really just need to hold our own truths and be able to acknowledge what we need in life. And then your ability to show up for the rest of the world is easy. My biggest red flag with a staff interviewing is a open schedule and I can do anything. It just immediately tells me that you're not considering yourself.
yep.
And I'm gonna have to manage your considerations and where your wall is and help try to teach you your wall. And I used to teach that to people a long time ago, but it got exhausting. I think people need to really learn how to take care of themselves and take a walk. It's just part of the discipline, and taking care of yourself is doing the hard stuff too.
Yeah. Well, we get it so backwards too.
Mhm.
Like no, I can't take care of myself. I'm taking care of everybody, not just our clients, but our families and all of the responsibilities that we have. And it really, I mean, we can hear it probably until the cows go home that, we need to fill our own cup before we can pour from our own cup. And we know this on a conscious level. But again, I think that it is another one of those scenarios where we don't necessarily give ourselves permission. And it's such an interesting mental block that I've just seen time and time again, not just in working with practitioners, but in myself as well. And you mentioned these, I'm going to call it simple, going for a walk, going to
Mhm.
bed at a certain time, feeding yourself. We I can't tell you how many times I've hired a coach thinking I'm going to be getting this like big sparkly aha moment. I've never heard this before. And I am being given the exact same information about, girl, like feed yourself or look at your calendar with a little bit more intention and plan things like these basic things. And it's funny because my ego's all frustrated by that, but at the end of the day, it really does come down to like, what are the little keystones in your life that make you you, that allow you to come back into yourself? And that really does allow us to serve so much more effectively. We can
Mhm.
really give from this place of, I've taken care of myself, I've nourished myself, and there's so much that pours out of you when we're able to actually do that. And it's just so
Mhm.
funny how simple it really is. Yet,
And honestly, the higher you go up in business, the more self-care is encouraged.
yes.
It's like you have to do those workouts. You have to do those disciplined actions. And I have some I still struggle with. I'm like, get it on the calendar. And so I have to manage that discipline even myself with the places that I know I'd be lazy, but I have to show up for myself. And I know I can't do it at home, so I might as well put myself in a situation where I can't just opt out. So sign up for a class that I'll get a cancellation policy, I guess. If you have to create these scenarios that is really about the well-being and the caring of you. And I've seen it from small business to multi-million dollar businesses. My multi-million dollar business CEOs, they travel the most, they work out the most, they journal the most, they network the most, they lunch the most, and they also sat down their phone the most. And you get really disciplined because you just don't have the time for the nuances of your own BS anymore if you really want your impact to flourish. And once you've filled up yourself and you've gotten down into the guts of your why and what you want to deliver out into the world, I think we all come down to we want to be seen and we want to impact what maybe we needed or maybe what we saw within our own wounding somewhere along the way. It's usually coming from our own wounding that has healed that we want to carry on our impact to be seen with. And so I think when you just really recognize yourself and just dive into loving yourself and healing that part and nurturing that part of you as a coach, it is so easy to coach and mentor and grow a business beyond your wildest dreams when someone's not fighting survival of
Mm.
just their own body and their own matter and their own sleep and their own needs. And so once we have that out of the way, all right, let's grow. And we can hit the wheels to the road and create really actionable steps. And that's where you see the super capes, the capes go on and the I don't know, the superhero come out and however they want to be, that you see someone's superhero come out. because my goal as a mentor and coach is go become your own superhero. Go in and save yourself, become your own superhero, and then go out and create an impact into your community and your world, so that hopefully we can produce healthy, connected communities that feel safe to live in. Because at the end of the day, isn't that what massage therapy is? As well, hey, will you relax, connect with yourself, chill out, just chill and relax and be a little bit more pain-free so that you can show up as a better human in this world.
Yeah. Yeah. And just to rock the boat for a hot second, I
Mhm.
can hear a response, a potential response from like a group of practitioners when you say, the CEOs and the multi-million dollar people, they're the ones that travel the most. They're the ones that journal the most. They're the ones that prioritize their sleep and workout and all of that. I can hear a response of, well, they're privileged to do so. And really, one of the things that I have heard about as a, for lack of a better term, as an excuse for why someone has not done a journaling practice or gotten the sleep that they needed or taken care of themselves in one way or another is that they can't because they have to, they had 5 clients cancel next week and they have to make sure that they, pick up that money and they, lost money elsewhere and it's chaos, chaos, chaos. There's all these excuses. So I'm curious what your response to that would be.
To the excuses, I mean,
Yeah.
I love the response is what you think is what you get, no matter what it is, even with all the excuses, we can make as many excuses as we want in the world. I like to think of our focus. It can be a shotgun effect that goes everywhere, or we can laser focus it. And you're welcome to have a shotgun effect and be all over the place, but it's not really serving you or anyone else. And so I find being a bootstrap girl and someone that teaches somatic care, trauma care, and also someone that grew up in the hood. Um, I came from the school of hard knocks and I've grown from that too. And I firsthand kind of had the judgment as the employee looking and working in all of these fancy places, had the same judgment to becoming the owner of a place, taking out the loans, and then aligning with the wealthy and employing those that now saw me as the snobby spa owner that must have it all handed to her because I was I just because I was able to have that.
Yeah.
And so to kind of cross that bridge itself and then to meet owners, and granted I had a nature about money because I had half of my money, half of my family was in poverty and half of my family had access to really wealthy money but spent it poorly, on had addictions and stuff like that. And so I just had this nature about it and my own thought process about it that I had to change. And as I aligned with the wealthy, I really found out that wealth is an internal job.
Yeah.
When I took away the value of money from the value of my person,
Nailed it.
that shifted everything for me. You know, it doesn't, I hear people yell and that I'm worth this, I'm worth that. And I often say it's like, I've set prices that I find affordable to the community where I feel like I can meet people at their level and yet it will be respectful to me. And I also know exactly who I'm looking for, what I'm looking for in my customers so that I can align with the right nature. And I often find that people, their excuses and their things are just they don't want to take accountability for their dream and their money and forego the coffee, and and forego the vacations and forego certain things. Some of these CEOs that I saw, um, some of them were blessed to have, inherited money, of course, but also I found that they were some of the biggest givers. And when the markets dropped, they were like, let's get this economy going.
Yeah.
They pull up to my spa like that, let's get this economy going. And I found that they were some of the kindest and most giving people, and would listen to the dream. And then what people see is like, I have this dream, give it to me. But if you can't conceptualize your dream in math and make it work for an investor to tell them how they're going to make money off of their money, you don't have it together. And that's the problem, is people want to say, I see you. And what you're not seeing is I stayed up late. I didn't get paid. I, I, my family was at Thanksgiving dinner and I went and answered the phone and got on my computer and worked. You're not seeing all of this back end stuff. And then you're seeing the person on the mountain. And so I guess my hard bullet to that is most people looking up don't see the blood on the climbing wall.
Yeah. Yeah. And then when they are there themselves on the climbing wall bleeding, they're wondering, oh, why me? Like, how could they get up here without bleeding? And they're not necessarily recognizing that half the blood that they're experiencing while they're on the wall is as someone else before them as well. And there's a hand up there, oftentimes reaching down, wanting to help them out as well. But we're so blinded sometimes by the struggle, and there's sometimes resentment while going through
Mhm.
that struggle.
And it's that resentment of worthiness and wanting to be seen.
Yeah.
It really just comes down to that, is that worthiness and wanting to be seen. And I know it seems simple, but the more you go back to loving yourself, the more you can grow, the more you go back into your own confidence of I can confidently dream and try this. And then accepting a no. I mean, I'm kind of like, a no is just a no for that moment. And every no, I'm closer to my yes. So I'll
Yeah.
just keep trucking through my no's pretty quickly, and don't take stuff so personally.
Yeah.
It's just if you're going to take anything personally, how you treat yourself, take that personally. I've been my biggest asshole, and I choose to be my biggest cheerleader now, and to love myself actively, and even keep on learning to discipline myself and loving myself more. Because I know as I get older, I've even watched my elders fall down and stuff like that. It's like we have to keep lifting each other up,
Yeah.
and then part of a legacy company for us is Kate and I, we want to retire one day. And so here, take the information, come learn, take the information, we'll plan it down. And then one day, just like our own elders did, we'll want to hasta la vista and go sit on a beach, and while you're off learning. And I hope I can leave something behind that helps impact the community for the better. This industry, massage therapy. And it's a whole other podcast one day. But this industry has literally saved my body and saved my life and given me the privilege to grow from a tradeshood girl of nothing to a CEO that knows how to manage money confidently, knows how to run businesses, knows how to build brands, knows how to scale businesses, and loves helping others do that, because it's fun. It's fun with others.
Yeah. Such a process of becoming. And I'm so
Mhm.
grateful to hear about that process for you and allowing us to have the opportunity to shine the light on your process of climbing up the wall, so to speak. And man, you're right. There's so many other tangents that we could come
Mhm.
back to and circle back to and really chow down on. And yeah, I just definitely would love to invite you back. But before we end today, I would love to give you an opportunity to share where people can learn more about your offerings, both working with you and with Spa Ninjas as a whole, where you would like to direct people first, where's a good starting place for them, and anything else you'd like to share with the audience.
Yeah, always a pleasure to talk and to talk shop. I really do love it. The best place to find me is a connection call on Spa Ninjas, the business mentoring page. That is my where I niche into and help the community. I do have multiple ways that people can work with me, from our Ninja Marketing Roundtable to one-on-one strategic mentoring. And my strategic mentoring is really meant for small business owners with a team that is growing, that has a location or looking for a location. I'm an implementation SOP coach, so we're really pushing you and punching you through goals and stuff and getting into the depths of it. And then we have our Ninja Marketing Roundtable for the community private practice that is looking to grow and wants to be seen and be heard in their own authentic self within their community. I love because a lot of Babs are coming into that round table. It's so much fun. And it's just a real get it done and focus on it, automate out some stuff, make it a little bit easier so that on your busy days or the days you don't feel well, you can still show up and know where you're going, because that's business. It's just consistency and perseverance, you know, of showing up. So anyone is welcome to jump on a connection call with me. They're complimentary. There's no charge for that. I just love meeting everyone, and I'm not there to really sell anyone. If I want to work with you too, and if you want to work with me and it matches up, then we'll be a good fit. And I would love to mentor with you. And if not, then I do like to refer out to those that fit best, like yourself, Gretchen, and others within my community, that just give people the right direction of where they're looking to go to grow themselves and grow their business.
I appreciate that about you so much because I have the same philosophy as well. I mean, I think all of us have been on that call where, you're like, oh, when are they going to drop that $20,000, hard sale and or not refer out
Mhm.
appropriately. And like, I really do think that it's such a blessing to be able to just connect and like see how things flow. And then there's such an amazing network of people that are able to offer little nuggets of
Mhm.
different things that everyone shares. So I love that about you, and I really appreciate the time you have spent with us. Just boatloads of wisdom. So much love shines through, even on the Zoom call. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
And yeah, I just want to say thank you so much.
Thank you, Gretchen. It's always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
Thanks for listening to The Sustainable Body Worker. If something resonated for you today, grab your free breakthrough session, which includes a custom hypnotherapy track to help you unlock the next level. Grab it now with the link in the show notes. And to hear more, hit subscribe. We'll see you next time.